more than a little interference from Shama, formerly of Los Miserables, who answered Mr. Bones' call to start his own faction. He really gave it to the crowd before that quarterfinal matchup.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane live action DC Multiverse collection. Now we will be continuing the Flash movie wave. This time we're taking a look at Barry Allen 2, but in a modified Batman costume. Now this is kind of like a head scratcher for me because why do we have this figure? I mean, it is from the film. We haven't seen the film yet, but I even think even after seeing the film, it's not really gonna make me want this version of Barry Allen. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about in this review because since I'm not too into this figure, I'll take the time to put some points out there. Now the first point was going to be that I am a completist. If you know what this means that when you collect a line, any line, it doesn't matter what line it is. It could be Ninja Turtles, He-Man, G.I. Joe. But if you are a completist, you want to have every figure, every version of every figure, every vehicle, and every play set that ever comes with a line. Now, I was a big completist of the DC Universe Classics line. I have them all mint in box, and I even have them right here in front of me loose. And I even have some of the bigger, like San Diego Comic-Con releases, like Lobo and stuff like that. But that is what defines you as a completist, is that you must have every version. So although this figure to me is like, okay, what am I looking at? I must have it for my collection. Now, there are little differences that all of us have, different little quirks and collecting habits that everybody has. Like me, the platinums from McFarlane, it's not like a big deal to me. If I find them, I usually don't open them. I keep them in box. Now, if I ever come across another one just randomly, then that one I will open, but it has not happened. Most of the platinums that I have are still in box, and I do not have open versions of them, but it is not a big deal to me, and that's how I collect. So now I'm still hearing people talking about the Batwing and the Spin Master is better. Understand me right now, the Spin Master is not better. Now you can modify it and make it your own, and you can be happy with it and go to sleep at night thinking of your mama, but that still does not make it the same thing as the Batwing. Now in my review of the Batwing, I did come out front and say a couple of things like that. I did think that it was, a little bit overpriced. They could have made it $175, even $199, added in the Keaton figure. That would have made a big difference. But there is still no way that huge Batwing, it could be comparable to that Spin Master one. That is just, I've seen it. It does not have the same details. It does not have anything the same. I saw somebody customize one, one of the Spin Master Batwings, and it looked good. It had lights and everything. He opened up the bottom of the canopy so you could fit one figure in there, but it was still kind of like leaning back, like it couldn't sit up straight. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool, But then he showed the underside, and to do all of those things, he had to put like cardboard or something like that. And that's when I was like, no, that's not for my complete DC Multiverse 7-inch collection. It's just not going to happen. So we all have the right to be happy with whatever we want to be happy with. If you're happy with the Spin Master, that's good for you. If you're happy with the Batwing, awesome. I've heard people complaining too, like, oh, this is what I got for $250. Oh, that. And I'm like, bro, I spend tons of money on different things, not just figures. I have tons of other things that I have to spend money on, and $200 to me is isn't really like a deal breaker. That's like, okay, there's your $200. And I know that's not for everybody, but that means that if you couldn't afford to get the Batwing, then I don't hold that against you or hold any negative thoughts because you didn't have the money to buy the Batwing. That's fine. Or even if you thought it's not worth it, so I'm not spending it, that's fine. But that's your decision. I have my own decisions. And then you'll have people saying like, oh, now you're shilling for McFarlane. Trust me, McFarlane doesn't pay my bills. McFarlane doesn't give me money. I don't make money from YouTube. I refuse to join the YouTube, a friend thing or whatever. I just refuse to do it. I have my own money. I have my own careers, not one. I have multiple. So for everybody complaining about this and that, collect what you like. Spend money on what you like, but as long as you're not, as long as you have the money, which I know right now in these times is not fun, but don't jump on other people for making their decisions with what they want to do or liking what they like. Like, here's a big thing. I do not like Funkos. I never have. I don't own one Funko Pop. I would never spend money on a Funko Pop. No one's ever given me a Funko Pop. But if you do, that's good. That's fine for you. I'm happy for you. And if you have like a whole wall full of Funko Pops, I'll look at them and be like, nice collection. But I'm not going to degrade you or talk bad about you or even say that you're shilling for Funko. I mean, that's what you like to collect, and that's fine. Everybody should be allowed to collect what they want without having to hear from other groups. Now, sorry about that little tirade, but the reason I wanted to say that is because I don't really have a lot to say about this figure. I also said in one of my last reviews, I can't remember which one, but I said, trust me, when I don't like a figure or it doesn't do anything for me, I'll let you know. I'm not just going to love every figure just because McFarlane puts it out. Contrary to popular belief, I don't love every figure that McFarlane puts out, but I do have some that I really enjoy. I think there's some that are awesome, and then I think there's some that I buy them, I look at them a couple times, I put them on the shelf, and I never touch them again. But if I ever want to do like a photo or do some kind of setup like a scene, I have those figures to use whenever I need them. Plus, I am a sick, disgusting completist, and I must have all the figures from McFarlane, so it is what it is now. This guy looks pretty carefree in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. Once again, we have the version of the character from the film, but done, rendered in a sort of comic book style, which they do for most of the films. They did Wonder Woman, Fury of the Gods like that. The Supergirl one, I really like that image. I just wish the figure would have looked more like that, but that's fine. But this image is really nice. But actually, I do like this image. It's the same one on the back of the box. And if I ever frame all of these boxes eventually in the future, this one will be one I know that I really like. The figure is another thing though. On the back, you do have some information. Actually, this tells a little bit more of the story behind Barry Allen, the two versions of him and all that in the film coming up. Pretty interesting, pretty cool. We'll add that to the collection. Now, he does come with some accessories. Per usual from McFarlane, you do get these Speed Force effects. Now, I have a big collection of Speed Force effects, and I usually just throw them in there. But sometimes I do use them to, like, if I need pieces of transparent plastic or stuff like that. So these are useful not just for putting on your figure, but also for custom fodder. So we hold on to those, and then you have these other two that are more similar, but they are still different. One is more like a flashing wave, and one has more like energy and little tendrils coming off of it, kind of like arcing energy. Pretty cool. Like I say, I usually just add these to the big box of energy effects that McFarlane has given us. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. Now, where do I begin? Okay, well, First things first, he is a nice figure. I mean, they do have some wash on him. First impressions, he looks really good. He has different tones of paint. Now, we do not know the complete story of like how this happens in the film. We do know that he uses an older Batman Returns suit to make like a Kit Bash Flash suit because he doesn't have one. And of course, this is like the younger version of Barry Allen before like Justice League and all that. But there are two different versions of him. Now, the figure in a whole is nice. It's just the whole concept of this and some other little details that I don't like and stuff like that. We'll get into it. But it is what it is. It is a figure from McFarlane. If I do have displayed my wave of Flash movie figures and I do want to have him in the setup, that's what he's for, is to represent the film. Got a cool Batman emblem, and it is covered by the Flash symbol. And then you got the design of the Batman Returns armor down into. I seen also that this is like kind of like danger tape or like like some kind of like when they close off a crime scene or like in the roadways when they shut down roadways. But he also has it like on the arms, and on this figure he doesn't have it. So it'd be interesting to figure out why that is. But all in all, like I said, it does have different tones of paint. It does have some black, like kind of wash on it, and that is like a plus for this figure. But just a figure I'm not really interested in. Now, I have heard people want to use this suit to make a custom Batman Returns. The only negative I would say is that, well, first of all, McFarlane's going to make that. We're already into the stage of the line where he's starting to open it up. We got that Dark Knight trilogy wave, so expect more in the future. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. Now this is going to be one negative, okay? Now the head is on one of those neck plugs. They did it in the Spawn Kickstarter. Some of the Batmans have this, and I am not a big fan of this. Now here's the thing. I would be a fan of this, where it has like the neck swivel, but if the head could also articulate, if it was a separate piece from the neck, because then you could use the neck to turn it, ever so slightly, but you could also use the head to look up, to add more articulation, more range. And since it's just a plug like this, it's really, really hard to enjoy this, because although the sculpt is really nice, it goes seamlessly from the head through the neck down into the shoulders. As soon as you turn it, it breaks up the sculpt. So me, I don't really like that. That's why I don't like thigh cuts necessarily, when they're just cut into muscle, and when you turn it, it just is really unappealing. But if you look in there, you can kind of see Ezra Miller in there, I guess. He looks kind of derpy. And you could tell they cut off the ears from the cowl. It's basically just a Batman cowl. And then he has, I think these are like headphones. Like instead of the Flash wings, they modified it to put headphones there. Or maybe he's listening to something in there. I mean, it's an okay head. I just don't like the way it's all connected together. And there's no movement in the head. So it kind of makes it look kind of crazy, kind of like a turkey head or something like that. But, oh well, let's take a look at the articulation. Now, he can look down slightly, and it doesn't actually break up the sculpt that much, especially, towards the back. But if you make him look up, right away, you could see that gap that he has between his neck and above his collarbones. And yeah, it just does not look good. And besides that, you can't really get him to look up more than just like eye level. So yeah, not good articulation. You can get right to left, but it breaks up the sculpt. And then you can tilt his head for some character, but the same thing. As soon as you tilt his neck, you start gapping up here at the plug. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of this articulation. Like I said, I would be, as long as the head could articulate on its own, but usually they don't. So let's take a look at the waist articulation. You do have side to side. You got that full tilt-a-whirl at the waist. You got lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. You could twist them, get them in some cool poses for running. He does have a slight crunch. He does crunch forward. Now this is a weird torso because although they do use kind of that soft rubber, it's not hollow. You could feel that there is some form of plastic inside there. So that gives it like some kind of body of stiffness without feeling like too hollow. Sort of like the Scarecrow one that was kind of like really hollow. It didn't have anything inside. This one does have something in there, but it has also a lot of open space to get, some crunch. Of course, you could lean them back really well. Take a look at the shoulder joint. There is a bushing inside that socket, but it's kind of tight. It's really hard to get any movement out of it. You can fix that, but it's not worth it for this figure. You got a little bit of up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. They look pretty good. And then from the shoulder, you go down, you got the edge of that Batman cowl, and then you go into the shoulder. Now, you could see the tone of paint that they put on there. You got a lot of nice texture. And then going down, you got some elbow pads, and then down into some gloves. You still have the wrist articulation that McFarlane gives us, 4 ways, hinge and swivel. You do got these black parts of the hinges that should have actually been kind of red. Not like I really want to, but I might repaint them and then show them at the end. And then on the other side, you have the same thing. They're both fisted hands. They kind of do look like the gloves that Batman wears in Batman Returns. He kind of has these kind of like big, thick gloves, but you are missing the forearm gauntlets with the spikes to actually be a Batman. And then this guy looks pretty thin as well to use as a Batman. Can get him in a T-pose. Not much more up, but you can put his arms above his head. Let's take a look at the thighs. He has a slight thigh swivel, hip swivel, but if you heat him up, you could probably get a little bit more. And what this allows is for you to move the foot back and forth without a thigh cut. It is kind of tight. You might want to heat it up to get a little bit more out of it. But it does kind of show that human hip rotation. Can kick up pretty high. Kick back as well. Now don't be afraid. The trunks are made of rubber and they're made to get out of the way for the range of the legs. And when you put them back, the trunks actually go back to their original shape. Could cock out his knee. He does have that sweet McFarlane hip swivel. Double jointed knees, look good. Straighten them out, up and down at the ankle, right to left. Rocker, toe articulation. Now before we go, let's take a look at the lower body. A lot of cool shading on the legs. You do have some knee pads as well. These do kind of look like the boots that Batman used in Batman Returns. They were like a certain specially designed boots. I remember hearing about that. Kind of like High-Techs or something like that. Or I want to say Reebok, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, they were like a certain special boot that had sort of like a athletic bottom part of it. So these kind of look like that. And then you do have his thunderbolt on the side of the calf. Pretty nice. So I figure if you paint this all black, it would kind of look like the Batman Returns suit, except for the belt, and the knee pads and the elbow pads. But it's kind of thin. He's kind of wiry compared to like Batman, so I don't know if it'll work too good. sculpted ankles as well. It looks all seamless. I mean, it's a well put together figure. Besides the head, I'm not a fan of that. But it's just the the figure is, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. Take a look at him from the bottom. No tread, but some identifying marks. Moving up the back, you got more like kind of like solid black painting. I think in the film, Barry Allen like cobbles this together and like with spray paint and different parts. That's why it's all like different pieces of of like electrical tape and I don't know what else. So we'll have to see in the movie how it all plays out. Moving up the back, got that weird caution tape in the bag. You could see the Batman sculpt in there. It's just kind of thin, but it is there. And I love this joint back here where the neck meets the top of the shoulders. And when you put them forward, it doesn't really break up the sculpt, but it looks good just like that. But any type of movement really ruins the aesthetics of it because you break up the sculpt. You can see the band from the headphones right here. So pretty cool. I mean, it is what it is. Not a figure I'm really excited about, but he will be going into the live action collection. Now, like I said, didn't really have any motivation to do tons of stuff with him. I did give his face a little bit of wash because it was really pale. It did add more tone than the first way he looked, because the first way he just looked like a fish's belly, like like just, you know, almost glowing. And now he has a little bit of tone difference like around his nose and under the chin. So I did that, and then I painted the red part for the hinges on the elbow just to see what it would look like. He does have kind of like a semi satin finish to most of his suit, so you could kind of see it here with the gloss that I painted on there. But it looks okay. It doesn't make a ton of difference. He could still have the black the way it was before and after. I really wouldn't care, but pretty cool. Like I said, I probably never touch this one unless I'm doing like a scene for the movie or doing some figure photography. But one figure that I have not been able to put down, I just love this figure. He looks awesome. I did some work with him. I promised some of the, you know, people that I would do this, and that is my, you know, slightly custom Batfleck from The Flash. Now, what did I do? First of all, I did the wash technique to the face because he looked as well. He looked like really pale, like a ghost. And this did bring out crevices around his mouth. I actually did put his chin dimple in there just to give it a little bit more of a Batfleck look. Even though this head to me is more just like a random Batman, but it does kind of look a little bit more like him now, and we are not for sure how he looks in the film, like if the cowl changed at all or just the way it fits on his head now that he's older. So we have yet to actually see that, but this guy is awesome. I love the way he looks. Now, another thing, everybody should know this about me. I am not a big fan of cloth capes. I know a lot of people tout cloth capes like if they're God, but they are not. A lot of the times, I'd say like 80% honestly look like crap. Even the ones that people like rave on, to me when I see them, they look like so like bulky and you could see all the stitching and all that, and to me that looks not good. So I ripped off that cloth cape. It's a piece of crap, and I added this, I think it was from the battle damaged Dark Knight Metal Batman, but I used that to make a different custom that I'll do a video on soon. I'll put a picture of it so you could kind of get a little preview of what that, I call them the Dark Avenger Batman or something like that. So we'll take a look at that later, but look at this bad boy. Look at the way that cape looks. Now you could say, oh, well now it's like a cape that only flows one way. Good. I like it like that. I like my Batman looking to one side and have a little bit of, you know, action in that cape. And it's like kind of raggedy and like it's been through battle. It looks awesome. So I also painted the eyes of the head because they were just gray. I don't know why, but I didn't go with a traditional white. I actually went with a pearl white, and it gives it like a little bit of reflectiveness if you could see it in there. And yeah, this guy looks dope. Now, the cape fit perfectly. I just had to modify it a little bit, but it fit right under this piece of his cowl. Now, I also had somebody comment that they didn't like the way the cowl looked because it was like floating up. And I told them, yeah, it was probably because that cloth cape is so thin that it doesn't have anything to fill that gap in. Well, look at how it looks now. You fill in that gap perfectly, and it just fits. It fit right in there. And then even in the back, like where it had a little like V ridge, the cowl actually fit right in there. So for me, I cannot put this figure down. I've been posing him. I repainted one of the Justice League Batarangs for him that I'm letting it dry right now, but eventually he'll have it on him. And this guy is awesome. I put a picture up with him next to the Bat Cycle. Man, now this figure I love. This figure and I told people from the beginning that I didn't care what nobody says, that oh, that figure doesn't look like Batfleck, oh, that figure sucked. No, this figure is awesome. And after I put my own little touches on him, he's even better. And I've just been having fun looking at him, posing him, and that's going to probably go on for a couple of days until I find a new favorite figure. Well, this guy, I mean, he doesn't compare to this guy. I could get him in some running poses. I think I got some footage where I got him into a running pose, which was not easy, but it can be done. But besides that, for me, he is sort of like an anomaly of my collection, which is that he's going to go up there on the shelf, but not, too impressive to me. Let's see what they do with that mold later on. Maybe they'll like percentage it up a little bit and make a Batman Returns figure. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.